What's up, people? Thank you for passing by the channel. All right, let's get to knockout of the year. There has been so many vicious knockouts, and really and truly, it's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but there's been so many knockouts where I think that guy might not get up. And that's horrible to think, but I actually do think some of the knockouts this year have been violent. And when I think of knockout of the year, I'm not thinking of where a guy gets knocked out and he looks like he's going to get up again. So that doesn't count. I'm talking about knockout where the referee doesn't even need to waste their time counting. Like, they are gone, they are out, face planted, clean. And when I think of one, I think of like Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams. That's what I'm talking about. Knockout where the guy goes like that. That's what I'm talking about for knockout of the year. So there's been 4 knockouts this year. There's been more, to be fair, but there's been 4 that just always stay in my memory. I don't know why, but there's been 4 knockouts where I think, whew, that was horrible. That was horrible. And number 4, and this isn't even really in any particular order, but number 4 is a recent one, and it was Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora. That knockout was violent. That knockout was violent. Derek Chisora has only been knocked out once before by David Haye, but this was double that. This was, in fact, more than double it. They could have counted to 100 and Derek Chisora wouldn't have got up. That knockout was violent. Dillian Whyte put every single thing into that left hook. And I said straight after, I'd done a video on that fight, and I said that left hook could get Dillian Whyte out of trouble in some of the big fights. So if he takes on the top 3, Joshua again, Wilder or Fury, and he catches them with that left hook, they're out. They're out cold. He turned his body and put every ounce of power, and he's got new power now. You can see he's a lot more stronger into that. And Derek Chisora was out before he hit the canvas. That was vicious. My number 3, and it is number 3, and it's funny because this was number 1 up until I changed the criteria. So I changed the criteria by saying that the referee shouldn't go in and count. That's how vicious the knockout's got to be. And in this instance, the referee did go in and count. But still, it's one of the cleanest knockouts of 2018. And that was Inoue versus Payano. That 1-2 down the pipe, I'm sorry, that was as clean as it gets. In terms of actually setting a shot up, it's probably the best knockout of the list because it literally was a 1-2. All the other knockouts on the list are just single punches. This was a 1-2 down the pipe. And you know what the worst thing is? I don't even think he got full extension on it. I don't think he even really got full leverage on that right hand. And it's clear why they call this guy a monster. And if the World Boxing Super Series does continue, and fingers crossed it does continue, he's winning that tournament hands down. He's winning that tournament. He's knocking out Rodriguez. And then I think if he gets Tete in the final, he's knocking him out as well. Because this guy has not just boxing ability, but he's got power in both hands. And that was one of the cleanest knockouts I've seen, not just this year, but ever. It was so clean. And I think Payano done well to even try and get up. That's why it's not number 1, though, because Payano actually tried to get up. My number 2 on the list, and it really could be number 1, is a knockout by Teofimo Lopez on Mason Menard. Vicious. It's so vicious that Mason Menard is actually knocked out and falls in slow motion. It's almost as though his body, and this is horrible, even the way I'm describing it is horrible, but his body somehow leans forward, he's knocked out, and then he collapses. It's vicious. And the way he face plants, again, this is an awful subject to talk about, but the way he face plants is just, whew, it's painful. Because normally, and watch this, when boxers are knocked out and they go face down, it's almost like instinct kicks in and they kind of put their hands down to protect them. He didn't. This was exactly the same as Sergio Martinez, Paul Williams, where Paul Williams just goes face down. And that was round 1 as well. So it wasn't a case of him being exhausted or tired. He just got caught clean. And that, again, could easily be number 1. But number 1 has a bit of everything. Because number 1 is just, it's brutal, it's vicious, it's bloody. And I remember when watching it live, I remember thinking the doctors need to get into the ring ASAP. The number 1, as you guys know, is Dillian Whyte's KO of Lucas Browne. It's just, when you think of violence, that knockout is just violence. That knockout screams violence. Again, the left hook. We've spoken about it before, but Dillian Whyte's left hook is just, for him, it's a thing of beauty. For his opponents, it's a thing of fear. Because he landed it so clean, it almost twisted the body of Lucas Browne. And Lucas Browne went down face first. And again, it's one of those ones where you don't need to count, call it off, oxygen in the ring, doctors in the ring, and I mean, Lucas Browne's fighting again, and I'm shocked because I thought that could be it. That's one of those knockouts that end your career, and I'm surprised that Lucas Browne is, it looks like, probably going to fight David Price in March, because that is by far one of the most violent KOs I've ever seen. It's horrible. It's horrible. And that's why it's number one. Just because of how brutal it is. You think of all the others on the list, they're not brutal and horrible. This one is horrible. Lucas Browne's face is all bloody and it's a mess. And the way his face just hits the canvas and bounces off the canvas, it's reminiscent of a Rocky movie. So Dillian Whyte knockout of Lucas Browne is by far, for me, the knockout of 2018.